Wonderful people of the internet. I hope we are excellent. And obviously, some of you horrible ones as well. Here I am back with episode number 20, where I'm going to share with you some things that you can start to do literally today to fast track to a happier, more fulfilled life. But first of all, I just want to apologise. It has again been some time since I have done a podcast, and that has been kind of somewhat intentional and somewhat the motivation for today's episode as well. And that I have been, I guess, trying to consciously spend a little bit less time online, which sounds almost counterproductive, seeing as I work online, I work with clients online. But I suppose really what I mean there is that I've just tried to be a little bit more focused when I've been online, and that yes, I've spent less time online, but the time that I have spent online has been a lot more focused. And my word, do I feel amazing for it. Really, really good for it. Hasn't been good for my podcast. But I'm sure that's fine. So long as when I do drop an episode, it's absolute fire value, which this one is going to be. And something that I actually kind of get. Well, I do. I get so many of my clients to practice these things. I have been practicing these things a lot more frequently in the last month or so since I've been spending a lot less time online. And again, it's made a world of difference. And I think now that we're into September, which is a, a crazy thing to be talking about, how in the hell is it September? Now that it's starting to get a little bit colder, it's going to start getting a little bit darker sooner in the evenings. I think these things are going to be very, very good things to talk about for those of you who maybe suffer from seasonal effectiveness disorder, SAD for short, who have SAD lamps. I have my own one as well, so I think the timing of this particular episode is quite important as well as we kind of come into September, which is just again wild. For those of you who are watching this on video, I am looking at the laptop currently, and I always just think this is so funny. For those of you who are watching this on video, will know exactly what I'm talking about. But it looks like there are teeth marks on the wall. I'm going to say they're not teeth marks. I don't actually know, because obviously they were there when we moved into this house. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe you guys can let me know. Maybe if I do this, for those of you who are listening to this on audio, will have no idea what I'm doing. But currently, I'm opening my mouth to see if the width of my mouth would cover would cover the distance that the teeth marks are apart from each other. Those of you who are watching this on video, you can let me know. You can let me know. For those of you who are listening to this on audio, you'll have literally no clue what the hell I'm talking about. But without further ado, let's get stuck into it. So again, like I said, these are some of the things that I have had the opportunity to practice a lot more in this last month. These are things that I get my clients to work on and try and improve on as well, because for those of you who are not new to the podcast, but for those of you who maybe have just stumbled upon this episode, I am a weight loss behavior and lifestyle transformation coach, which is the fancy way of saying that, yes, whilst I help people lose weight, I help them feel happier, more confident, and more fulfilled within their lives as well. Because for me, weight loss on its own is entirely pointless unless you're empowering the person to perform these behaviors way beyond their time working with me, but also helping them lead a more confident, fulfilled, sure, happier life, which inevitably is going to help the weight loss that they achieve as a result of working with me much, much more sustainable long term. And that's always been my ethos, is that weight loss on its own is entirely pointless unless the person feels more confident, more fulfilled, and just happier in general in life. And what that involves is a lot more than a calorie deficit. That involves a lot more than just choosing to eat a little bit more fruit and veg on the daily. That involves a little bit more than the number that it says on the scale, which is not actually something we focus on a lot. But it's a lot more than just exercise. It's getting stuck into the nitty gritty of these things here that I am going to talk about, that alongside weight loss helps create that lifestyle that I am talking about, and creates that fulfillment and happiness that I think inevitably everyone, not even just below the surface, but surface level as well, is trying to achieve, is a happier, more fulfilled life. And that kind of brings me on to point number one. And that is that needing to achieve things, and that pressure of feeling like you need to achieve things. And obviously what I'm going to do is I'm going to be a lot more specific here, in that people who come and work with me feel like they need to lose weight. They feel like they need to be X amount of stone in pounds. They feel like they need to be able to fit into that dress or those trousers, or yeah, they just feel like they need to achieve these things. And the pressure that they put themselves under as a result of feeling like they need to achieve these things is unbearable. Now, to broaden that slightly and zoom out ever so slightly, to not even talk about weight loss, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of you listening to this who have known what it's like to feel like you need to achieve something, whether it's feeling like you need to earn more money, or feeling like you need to get a better job, or feeling like you need to go and save for that holiday, or feeling like you need to go and buy that car, or anything. Really, there'll be a lot of you listening to this who have felt that pressure of feeling like you need to achieve something. And whilst this isn't, I don't ever want to minimize anyone's goals by any means, because I can't sit here and do that as someone who is not sitting in your shoes. So please do not mistake this for me trying to minimize what it is that you want to achieve, because go fucking you for having ambition. Go fucking you for having dreams and goals. Work so fucking hard that those goals and those dreams are inevitable. But quite often I'll ask myself, as someone who has been very, very all or nothing, and who's felt that crippling pressure of feeling like they need to achieve something, I'll ask myself this, and this is something that I've said on the podcast before, and it is this: is what I want to achieve a matter of life and death? And more often than not, the answer is no. And what that's been able to do for me is minimize that pressure of that need, is minimize that intensity of feeling like I have to achieve this no matter what, and help me turn the valve and release a little bit of that pressure that I have put on myself to achieving that goal. And I think quite often, and partly the reason why I've taken so much time offline in the last month or so, is because I think social media has a large part to play in exacerbating those feelings like we need to achieve something, or that we need to achieve that one particular thing. It exacerbates that comparison to other people, when, for those of you who are listening, you know, you're not silly. You know that people on social media more often than not are only ever putting their best foot forward on social media and not revealing a lot of the negative sides or a lot of the unhelpful things in their life that they're trying to work through. Social media is a shop window, as it were, for lack of a better term. And partly the reason why I've spent a lot less time online is social media has spent or has exacerbated for me that comparison to other people. Like I need to have what they have, and I need to achieve what it is that they're achieving, because if I do, I'll feel happier. If I do, I'll have X. If I do, I'll have Y. When I've been able to ask myself, is it really a matter of life or death whether or not I achieve those things? And more often than not, the answer is no. And that's something that I've mentioned on the podcast before. But the flip side of that is that whilst, again, I don't ever want to minimize anyone's dreams or goals, if that is you and you're working as hard as you possibly can to achieve those things, credit to you. Massive, massive well done. But I know there'll be a lot of people feeling debilitated by that pressure and feeling debilitated by that intensity of feeling like they need to achieve that result. And something else you can practice, which may sit awkwardly with some people because it may be deemed as accepting defeat in quotations. It may be deemed as accepting failure in quotations. But practice wanting it less. Why do you have to want it so much? Why do you have to want it so intensely to the point that it leaves you feeling depressed, that it leaves you feeling sad, that it leaves you feeling exhausted? Why do you have to want it so fiercely? And again, more often than not, you don't have to want it so intensely. Again, allowing for you to process a little bit more and minimize that intensity a little bit more. Definitely worth trying. So that's number one. Number two, again, something that I have been able to do with just a little bit more free time or spending less time on social media is slowing down. Again, because I've been able to minimize the intensity of those feelings, the pace at which I've been working, it has allowed for me to spend a little bit more time being grateful for what it is that I do have. Because when you are so busy wanting and chasing the next thing, you are not spending time being grateful for the things that you have achieved up until this point that years ago you would have set your sights on achieving. To put it more plainly, if you're always chasing and you're always wanting, when are you making time to be grateful for the things that, again, years ago, you probably spent so much time wanting and spending so much time working towards? And I know that there'll be people who are struggling with a lot of things right now, whether that be financially, whether it be in your relationships, your friendships, whether it be in your career, whether that be anything. I think, again, to talk about social media, because it's something that I've talked about already, it's had a habit of exacerbating the feelings of, or highlighting the things that we don't have in life, and then contributing to that tiredness and that fatigue and that lack of fulfillment and that lack of achievement. When slowing down, making time for gratitude is very, very important for fast tracking that happiness that you're trying to achieve by achieving that thing. And slowing down or showing gratitude, whether it be in a practice like meditation, journaling, etc., which people who are maybe sitting here listening thinking, I don't have time for that. And I get it. And I totally understand it. Because in a life where everything is always quite fast, 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 achieve, have to be working as fast as I possibly can, people don't make time to journal, people don't make time to meditate. And I'm not saying that you have to, but what you can do is, whether it's practicing slowing down or showing gratitude in a practice like meditation or journaling, you can also do it in a moment. You can also do it in a moment. And what I mean by that is that, for example, right now, as I record that podcast, there is a lily on our windowsill just in front of me that 6 months ago wasn't actually very well taken care of. I do admit, I throw my hands up, wasn't very well taken care of. It wasn't flowering because it wasn't being very well taken care of. And I look at it now and it's stunning. It's flowered beautifully. It's white. The leaves look really, really strong. And I look at it, and I look at it against the backdrop of my living room as I'm currently sitting here, and I think that looks really lovely. In a moment where things are quite relaxed for me anyway, but I could be driving along, focused on where it is that I'm going, and I can look left or right. And in the main road that I take to get to the gym that I work at, you can look to your left and you can see the ocean. And on a really nice day, it looks gorgeous. Like, it looks beautiful. In a moment where I could easily be looking forward and just focused on where it is I'm going, I can miss that. But this last month in particular, I've been a lot more conscious of the fact of practicing gratitude in moments. And you can do the exact same. You can literally start that right now. And number 3 is not accepting age as a limiting factor. Now, we've obviously already talked about how wanting to achieve things and feeling like we need to achieve things is a pressure on its own. You combine that with the fact that needing to achieve things and wanting to achieve things within a certain time limit adds a whole different level of pressure that I think as human beings, and I think as people, we don't do really well at managing. And rightly so. When you are literally against it with things like social media, when you're literally against it in how you compare yourself to other people, etc., you can help minimize that. You can help minimize that by not accepting age as a limiting factor. Now, obviously, age doesn't come on its own. It comes with certain aches and pains. It does come with accepting that as a result of getting older, you're not able to once do the things that you were able to do. But that doesn't mean that you still can't do a lot of things very, very well, particularly... Excuse me. Let me take a drink. Particularly if there is something else that you're thinking about trying or thinking about doing, but worried about doing as a result of your age. And I want to use myself as the perfect example here. Okay, so I am 32 years old. I used to play 11-a-side football very regularly about 7 years ago before I gave it up for bodybuilding. Now, after, long story short, 7 years, multiple years of bodybuilding, not really moving my body as a footballer. In that time, I have gone back to playing football. And I've been working hard to get myself back into playing football. I've mentioned it a lot. And on Sunday, I scored my first goal in 11-a-side football in 7 years. And it felt amazing. And I feel really, really good. And had I not been excited about wanting to get back into playing football, had I not been curious about what I could potentially do playing football, I might not have given that a go. But because I was curious enough and because I wanted to enough, I spent a lot of time working on getting my body ready to play football again. And as a result, I've been able to play for a football team again, scoring my first goal on Sunday, which feels absolutely incredible. And that was because I decided that I wasn't going to let age be a limiting factor in that. So if you're sitting there thinking, oh, I can't do that because of my age, I'm willing to bet you can. I'm also willing to double down and say that yes, you might not be able to do it as well as you did it before, if you did do it before. But if you're curious enough and you want to enough, you can figure it out. I promise you that you can figure it out. And that's exactly what I do. And that's exactly how I help people. Is a lot of the people that I work with is helping them rediscover their love and enjoyment for exercise and things that they were able to do before in an exercise scenario. And it's one of the most uplifting things in the world is rediscovering that you can still do to a level what you were able to do before, and with the right help and with the right guidance, feel a lot more content, feel a lot more happier, and feel a lot more fulfilled than you did doing it previously, because you're coming back and doing it at a time when you never thought that you could. And it's crazy. It's crazy the feelings that people feel as a result of doing that. And so that's kind of been my life in the last 6 weeks or so. In my absence from my podcast, which again, I do apologise, but that's how you can fast track yourself to a happier life, is by wanting less or practicing wanting less, reducing the pressure of needing to achieve something. That word need and the intensity and the pressure that comes with that. Is it a matter of life or death? I mean, it could be. It's not for me to decide. But more often than not, the answer is no. Number 2, slowing down. Showing gratitude, whether it be as a practice, journal or meditation, which I fully recommend trying, by the way, or in just a moment. Like I have done with the lily on the windowsill, or the looking left towards the ocean as I'm driving to the gym that I work at. If I was so focused on on where I was going and where I wanted to go, probably wouldn't have made that time to slow down or look around. You can do it in a moment. It doesn't have to just be in a practice. And number 3, not accepting age or time as a limiting factor. Not accepting age as a reason why you can't do something. Or accepting that I have to do this within X amount of time or otherwise it means nothing as a limiting factor. Because more often than not, it's not true. So try not to create more pressures for yourself. Try not to create more barriers for yourself than the world and life